Teachers are constantly being asked to assess their students on past and current knowledge. These assessments can become overwhelming and monotonous. But what if there is a way to increase the quality of formative assessments while also increasing student engagement? Over the course of this semester, I have been exploring apps that do just this. Quizizz has surfaced as the most effective app to aid in formative assessments in the classroom. Let's explore this game-changing app. Quizizz is a great tool for formative assessments, which are quick dips into student knowledge that guide teaching decisions throughout a lesson or a unit. They help show us what our students know at any given time, and their informal nature takes pressure off of students to worry about a grade. The goal of a formative assessment is to cater the lesson to the students' needs and not to wait until the summative assessment to know what the students know. Formative assessments provoke discussion over commonly missed concepts, and they provide support to students who are struggling with the concept so they don't become behind in their learning. Sometimes a little boost is all students need, and the formative assessment shows teachers where a boost is needed. Formative assessments could be given on paper or verbally asked, like, raise your hand if, but Quizizz transforms these knowledge indicators into interactive, efficient games. Quizizz saves teachers time because they can use pre-made quizzes, and the app grades each quiz automatically. The condensed reports after the live quizzes indicate which content was not understood among the students, and students also love this app because it involves competition, games, and technology in what could be an ordinary, boring lesson. Have I convinced you to listen further? Let me show you how to set up an account so you can follow along yourself. To create an account, we're going to go to Quizizz.com. It's Quizizz.com. We'll click in the top right corner, the sign up button. I'm choosing to link my account to my Gmail account, but you can create a username with a separate email if you like. So you will select whichever option you prefer. Again, I will do sign up with Google. Fill in all the information it asks you. Next, we're going to say we are using this account for school purposes, and we are the teacher. It will then ask you to find your organization, so type in your school name in that search bar right there, and it should pop up on the bottom scroll bar. Then we will say what kind of teacher we are, and this is the home page, which I will tell you how to use next. So this is the home screen of your Quizizz account. You can either create quizzes, or you can see pre-made quizzes that are below the screen here. So there's mathematics, English language arts, social studies, world languages. There's plenty of categories to choose from if you would like to use a quiz that an educator has already made for you and has shared on the web for anybody to use. So you just click on a quiz that you would like to use. You can see the questions, the answers. You can see which answers are correct if you choose that setting. You can use this quiz directly, or you can edit it yourself. So if you click the edit button, you will be able to remove questions, remove answers, change questions, change answers, or you can just assign it as homework or start a live quiz right as it is. You can also create your own quizzes. So to do this, you will go to create on the left-hand side, and you'll select quiz. You will have to name your quiz, so we'll just name it quiz. And you have to choose which subject area it is, so we'll just say math. And the cool thing about Quizizz is that you can either create your own questions, just completely your own, which your options for that are multiple choice, checkbox, fill in the blank, poll, open-ended, and slide. But you can also push this teleport button and say I'm doing a quiz on polynomials. I just type in polynomials in the search bar, and every quiz that is labeled polynomials will come up, and I can just click on each quiz to see their options, and if I wanted to do this one, I just click add, and I can add this question directly to my quiz, and I just keep going, can add as many questions from as many different quizzes as I'd like. So this is a hugely helpful feature of Quizizz that not many other formative assessments had. You can also create your own questions, so new question, and if I wanted to do multiple choice, for example, I could type my question here and my answer options here, and then just select the check mark on which answer is the correct answer. You can add explanations to your answers if you buy the Premium Pro package, which is kind of a bummer with this Quizizz app, but give and take, I guess. So let's say I want to assign this polynomial operations quiz. It's already made for me. All I have to do is assign it. I can either assign it as homework, or I can start it as a live quiz. Assigning it as homework is an awesome option for asynchronous learning. Students can do this quiz whenever, but the teacher still gets the results from it. Or if you are synchronous, you can do a live quiz. So you click live quiz and classic. This just means that students are able to do this at their own pace, answer the questions within the time limit given for each question. There's also options to do team quizzes, which will divide all of the participants into teams, and they will all get to answer the questions together, and their scores will be totaled together. There's also the test version, which is a test, but students have to log in to Quizizz in order to do this. So I'm going to just use the classic mode. Students can do it at their own pace within the time limit given. You can assign this to a class, or if you have Google Classroom or even using Microsoft Teams, you can find a link and assign it directly to the class, or you can just have the students log in with a code. There's all kinds of options here. You can decide if the students can create their own names or if you want Quizizz to generate names, etc. And Quizizz also has this fun power-ups option, which gives students another chance at the end to either answer another question again, to answer one extra question to get double the points, double or nothing kind of thing. There's a leaderboard that can be shown. You can shuffle the questions or the answers. So you can basically customize this how you like. So once you're ready, you will push continue. And this screen will pop up. So students will go to joinmyquiz.com and enter the code 099993 in order to join this quiz. So once your students have taken the quiz, you can click on Reports on the left-hand column, and it will bring you a report summary of all of your students and how they did on the quizzes. This is helpful, especially if the students name themselves, so you can see exactly which student answered which questions correctly, but for this I just use students 2, 3, and 4. So you can see just an overall general, how many each student got right, what their score was. You can see each individual question, which answers were most likely chosen, which one was the correct one, how many chose that one. And you can also see an overview, as in student 2 answered these questions correctly, student 4, student 3, etc. You can print these, you can download them, you can email them to parents. You can attach topics to each one, so question 1 was about multiplying polynomials. Question 2 is about distributive property. And then you can categorize the results through that as well. So these reports are really helpful to see which students need help in which area, which topics need to be gone over again. If the students understand, then you can move on. If they don't, then you can use this formative assessment to direct the next step in your lesson. Don't formative assessments look fun? I foresee myself using Quizizz multiple times throughout a unit, but in 2 main capacities. The first capacity is pre-assessments. While not a formative assessment in an actual lesson or unit, pre-assessments are early formative assessments that can guide me in what I teach to my students. Using Quizizz as a pre-assessment will tell me which content the students already know and that I don't need to teach again, or it can be a mark that shows how much my students have progressed throughout the unit. Susan Reckow supports that you cannot differentiate anything unless you pre-assess students. Quizizz will not only show me what content to teach, but how to teach it to certain groups of students based on their understanding. Quizizz could truly transform pedagogy and curricula as we know them. The second capacity in which I will use Quizizz is during actual lessons and units. In terms of individual lessons, Quizizz formative assessments could appear at the beginning, middle, or end of a lesson. During which time it appears depends on what I need to know about student knowledge. Do I need to know if they remembered previous content? Then I should do a formative assessment in the beginning of the lesson. What about if I'm wondering if I can move on to the next step or concept, or if I need to re-explain it? A formative assessment in the middle of a lesson would tell me that. Giving a Quizizz quiz at the end of a lesson will help me know whether to move on to the next day or predict how students will do on upcoming assignments. Quizizz also allows teachers to be intentional with their lessons and avoid progressing when students aren't ready to. In terms of a whole unit, Quizizz may make teachers slow down on a given concept, or it will speed them up because students already know the content. Flexibility is a teacher's best friend when it comes to catering to students' needs, because they aren't always predictable. but we don't want to miss them, so using quizzes throughout a unit solidifies the idea that our students' understanding is more important than getting through a lesson plan. This also creates a community of care and shows the students that they matter more than meeting standards and getting through material in a certain time period. Let's take a look at some examples that I could use in my math and ELA classes using quizzes. The scope for this Quizizz quiz is a 6th grade math class learning about linear equations. Today the lesson is on graphing ordered pairs on a coordinate plane. Once students know the basics of graphing points, they will move on to the practice activity, playing Battleship with a partner. To know which students are ready to practice and which students are struggling with plotting points, I will give a quick 4-question Quizizz assessment. Here's what the students will see. Once students have taken the quiz, I will know which ones are ready to play Battleship. Based off of the report generated, it looks like most of the students know how to plot points, so I will let them start on this activity. As this portion of the report shows, Jared and Taylor are 2 students who are on the fence, but I will still let them start, just keep a close supervision on them during the game. Simon and Maya clearly struggle with graphing ordered pairs based off of this report, so I will call them to the back table for a reteach and to learn where their confusions lie. Then they can start on the activity. Quizizz is not just limited to math classrooms. It can be used with any content area. For example, yesterday I taught my ELA 7th graders the difference between similes and metaphors. They were tasked to analyze their favorite songs and find examples of a simile and a metaphor in that song. At the end of the unit, students will be explaining real-life situations using figurative language, so I don't want them to forget the difference between a simile and a metaphor. To reinforce these concepts, I will give a Quizizz assessment at the beginning of class, the day after this content was taught, before any new content is taught today. Here's what it will look like. As students take the quiz, they will see their point value in relation to other students in the class. They will also have the chance to redeem themselves with power-ups at the end of the quiz, reinforcing knowledge. While I may not take time specifically in class today to reteach the difference between similes and metaphors, I will know which students to monitor when the time comes for the final project, thanks to the report I can refer back to. So just in summary, some pros and cons about the Quizizz app. Some really good pros are all of the pre-made quizzes that are accessible to any educator on the program, and that you can teleport those quiz questions into your quizzes. That is just so huge and helpful. Also, kids love the competitive nature of this app, of this quiz, and the power-ups at the end are also really motivating, and they help the students understand what they did wrong and try again. Some cons, though, is that no instant feedback portion that was only available with the Pro package, and this is a separate program that kids have to go into. It's not like you can't embed it into a PowerPoint or something. Kids have to go to joinmyquiz.com and enter the code or click on a link, and it will take them to a separate program. But overall, the pros definitely outweigh the cons, and this is just a really great app to use for formative assessments in your classroom. Thanks for following along as we hung out and messed around with Quizizz. I hope my geeking out didn't come across too strongly, but this app is so awesome. I hope you will join me in transforming formative assessments, one Quizizz at a time.